we encourage you to
In a world where truth is the ultimate.
It's a beautiful Friday morning here in Lagos, and I hope it is beautiful where you are. Good morning and thanks for joining us. Now, this is VOP this morning on Voice of the People Television, VOP. Now, VOP means Voice of the People Television. And in the next 2 hours, we're going to take you around the country to bring you interesting and trending stories. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Now, we'll go to Benue State, where the president has directed former Governor George Akume to lead a committee, on the Benue crisis, even as the president jets off to Kaduna State.
Alleged terrorism, I have no case to answer, Nnamdi Kanu tells court as federal government closes case. And also, Natasha is in the news again as the federal government arraigns the Senator Natasha Akpoti for alleged defamation. And as the court grants her 50 million naira bail. Now, these are the conversations we will focus on this morning. I am Moses Humphrey.
And I'm Fina Okechukwu, is Voice of the People, like my colleague Ryan pointed out. And with us, you have more than a voice, and all you have to do for you to be part of the family is to subscribe on our YouTube page. If you've not done that on YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, well spelled out. And on all that social media platforms, x.com, Instagram, Twitter, that's x.com, and Facebook, TikTok, and all that, we are VOP TV. We have a number also on your screen, scrolling. You can make good use of that number by calling in during the show, or you send us a 1-minute video of yourself reacting to any of the topic of conversation. We have all the trending stories that Nigerians have been reacting to, especially yesterday. And one of the stories actually is about the sole administrator of River State, as Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, over the emergency rule in River State, has finally appeared before a House of Representatives ad hoc committee in Abuja. He apologized for missing 2 earlier invitations, citing urgent governance duties in the state, while still noting that River State remains relatively calm but fragile, and requested more time to present a comprehensive briefing. The panel established after President Tinubu declared a 6-month emergency and suspended Governor Similai Fubara and the State Assembly, after he declared an emergency there. Also, the House of Assembly accepted his apology and plans to reconvene soon to ensure legislative oversight of the ongoing state of emergency. Interestingly, some persons have come up to say that the reason, the sole administrator finally decided to answer the House committee is the fact that they have another case again within the Senate, whereby some persons are questioning why will a cross-variant be the one that will be the chairman of RISEC in that state. Recall that we were told that a court nullifies the local government election that was organized or that was conducted by the former RISEC, and that was also done under the suspended governor of River State. And now, the sole administrator also is projected to have another local government election in the state, and we're having an issue over who should be the chairman of that RISEC. Some persons were saying it doesn't matter who the person is, as far as the person is a Nigerian. And even the man himself, who was appointed to be the chairman of RISEC in Rivers, was of the opinion that it was never stated in River State Constitution that it must be an indigenous of the state that will be the chairman. Some were saying that maybe Ibok Ete Ibas is going to have an issue with the House, and he decided to answer or honor the invitation. Others were saying, no, maybe this man is really busy trying to put things in place in River State, looking at how fragile the state has been, with the pro-Wike team and pro-Fubara team trying to, crash down the state with their political ambition and all that. But all the same, finally, we're getting today that he went to meet the House committee, and they have reconvened. He apologized, apology accepted, according to the House committee members, and they'll reconvene to look into the happenings in that state, especially what has to do with the state allocation, the budget of the state, and the smooth running of River State thus far.
Oh, well, it's a good thing that the sole administrator has appeared before the Senate. Well, he did not just appear, he appeared seeking an upward review of the budget. Obviously, there's a lot more work to be done. Well, It's an unfolding story, so I would rather wait to see where all of this pans to.
All right then. I think for me, the important thing is the comment from the sole administrator that river is relatively calm but still fragile. And if you look at what's going on, or what's been happening around River State, you don't need to travel far to understand that the whole issue of the state of emergency in River State was politically contrived. You don't need to, there's no argument about it. It was politically contrived. If the sole administrator says that there is relative calm in River State, but still fragile, it tells us that, look, okay, how about places that have unraveled? Places like Benue State, places like Plateau State. What is going on in Enugu State and in Borno State? Yet we have a president who doesn't deem it fit to declare a state of emergency. So it's clear political. Like some people say that, look, the president is after River State and he's gone after Akwa Ibom State in the same manner where the governor has ported from the PDP to the APC. So when people say that, look, that the president is after River State, what do they mean? We saw the president submit a memo on June 12th to the Senate, nominating 7 people to conduct to chairman, to a board of the commission, River State Independent Electoral Commission, to do what? To conduct elections. So it clearly tells you that the issue of bringing back the governor is not even on the front burner. The governor is not likely to come back. Now, if the president with the sole administrator is trying to appoint members of the commission to conduct an election, meanwhile, I think the governor has served like 3 or 4 months of his suspension. So why in a hurry to appoint members of the commission to conduct an election that he supervised as governor? Why don't you just bring him back to continue from where he stopped? So the whole thing about River State, like I said, is politically contrived. And we don't need to travel far to see it. But like Moses said, it's a developing story. So let's see how it pans out in the coming days. Now let's go away from River State and get to the national level, where the Nigerian Bar Association has reaffirmed its commitment to combating corruption in the country. I like that. Promising to use the full strength of the law to eliminate graft and reinforce the rule of law. While speaking through Professor Babafemi Badejo, chairman of the NBA's Anti-Corruption Committee, that's the National Anti-Corruption Committee, the association emphasized that corruption undermines human development and freedom and pointed to constitutional provisions like Section 98, subsection 1 of the Criminal Code and Section 15, subsection 5 of the 1999 Constitution to highlight crimes and penalties for public officers involved in corrupt practices. Well, in a bold move, the NBA has also decided to establish anti-corruption committees across all 130 of its branches nationwide, aiming to lead by example and inspire similar action across the judiciary, legislature, and executive. The association said true justice and national progress depend on persistent, united, and institutional efforts to eradicate corruption. Sound bites, if you ask me, just sound bites. So how will the NBA help in fighting corruption when lawyers rely heavily on technicality? In fact, a lot of people say that the problem we have in the politics is caused by lawyers. So there's been this flurry of arguments for and against, where some people say, well, lawyers argue based on the evidence before them or on the facts before them. Some people said, no, they are very intentional in changing the direction of politics by using the law. But in all of this, it is good that they are coming out to say, look, we want to fight corruption. So, and they say charity begins at home. Have we heard anything again about the 300 or 200 million naira that was given to MB? You see, that is one thing about Nigeria. When there's a case and another thing happens, we put every other thing on the back seat and move forward. Like we are moving. People are saying that, look, you don't even need to bother yourself about Benue State. That in the next 10 days or so, something bigger than Benue will happen and all of us will leave Benue. Pam! If it happened in Abia, we'll go to Abia. If it happened in Sokoto, we'll go to Sokoto. And we'll forget every other thing. More like what they say is collective amnesia. But it's good that NBA is out to fight corruption. Let them partner with the judiciary, legislature, and executive, like they have said. Thumbs up for them. Let's see how far they can drive that seat.
All right, NBA talking about Section 98, subsection 1 of the Constitution. The question I had, actually, what came to my mind that was yesterday night was, how many of these elected political officials have we seen been sent to prison? to spend their 7 years for misappropriation of fund or for indulging or engaging in corrupt practices. I think the last time I heard something about that was the former governor of Plateau State, and I think that of Taraba, though they were granted executive pardon, because of their age, and they were let go of. And we've seen so many, even this present time, we've seen some elected officials too, coming. We know that they embezzle funds. Some have the evidence that even some schools have to return back the money that someone have paid for their children, for his children's school fees up front and all that. But all the same, when you get to court again, we hear something like that some persons did not bring enough evidence. That is what we hear most of the time. And they will tell you that they are not serving, justice is not being served free of charge. We work with what we see, work with what we have. Anything you present before us is not going to work. Even when it is glaring enough, when it is open enough for them actually to do that, they've not really done that. But now that, I think when this man was talking about this, he made mention of Osigwe, who is their new national chairman,
the national chairman
saying that a lot of things will change at this point in time. Thank you so much, Badejo, for your comments. But I am waiting to see that whole lot of things change, because even the NJC made us understand that judges are corrupt, lawyers are corrupt, but it's their duty to do or to flush out those ones who are corrupt. And we've been hearing that for so long now. And we're just waiting to see the outcome of this, the statement you made now.
Well, if they intend to fight corruption like they have just mooted, then they should start by letting the public know how that 200 million naira was used, the one meant for the convention. Let Nigerians know how that money was used. And if anybody is found to have misappropriated that money, then bring the person to book. Then it becomes clear that truly you have intentions to fight corruption. Like Chukwuma rightly said, sound bites to me. That's just what I get from all of this. Corruption is something that is eating deeper and deeper into the fabric of our society, and it has gotten to the point where every individual, religious leaders, parents, children themselves, everybody is looking for one fast way to make it, and people will support you regardless of whose ox is God, as long as they stand to benefit something from it. That's the society that we live in, and it's really unfortunate. You see, the people complain about the leaders, the political elite being corrupt, but the people themselves are corrupt. And truth be told, if some of these people on the streets are given the opportunity, they'll do worse. So, National Orientation Agency, they have their work cut out for them. There should be some serious sensitization going on. Dora Quinley tried to introduce something using the national anthem, using words from the national anthem. How far has that gone? If that had been sustained, especially at the level of kindergarten and primary school children, then we'll talk about inculcating proper values in our children. But we, relegated that to the background, and here we are again, corruption everywhere. Well, some will say, I think it was on this table, we discussed corruption in Nigeria in comparison with what it is in other climes. I know it's bad in other places, but what makes ours really terrible is the fact that we glorify it. People that have perpetuated corruption are signposted as they are the poster boys. They are those that the young people look up to as role. They basically are the ones people look up to, and it's unfortunate if the system is such that those that have done evil are made to face the wrath of the law. Then, that would be a good place to start in curbing corruption. But let's quickly move to another conversation now. This one also reeks of corruption, if you ask me. A woman who has been in the IDP camp at the Yalawata fainted from hunger at a relief camp near Makurdi International Market in Benue State. And this prompted outrage protest by fellow internally displaced persons. And what are they demanding? They are demanding government intervention. Now, the pictures of the incident circulated widely, highlighting worsening conditions, starvation, illness, alleged diversion of relief supplies by camp officials, all right, by camp officials. Those meant to cater to the needs of these people who have been displaced are the ones who cut corners with the relief materials provided. Well, demonstrators blocked a busy road calling for transparency and accountability in aid distribution. Of course, after reporting that 2 IDPs had already died from hunger-related complications. Well, it's not just hunger. I'm sure it's not just hunger. It could have been complications from ill health as well, because, you know, a lot of them are poorly taken care of. It was on television at the Mokwa, after the Mokwa flood, that some people were complaining that, look, here they were at the IDP camps with no proper channel for defecation, no proper refuse disposal channel provided, no food. So there was a tendency that their health will deteriorate. Unfortunately, no one is looking into this. And interestingly, I just discovered that the Benue state government set aside about 10% of its 2025 budget to cater to IDPs, and some 853 billion naira also was set aside for a certain program, a reintegration sort of program, farmers, for farmers and people and all of that. What has been done to with those funds? Oh well, these conversations will continue to trouble us until a solution is found.
You know, the funny thing there is this: these people who are in these IDPs never wanted to be there in the IDPs at a point in time. I pray that the people who are protesting will not be arrested also, you know, like those who protested the killing in Yaliwata. I think it was yesterday we learned that I think none of them have been set free or released and all that. I wish Benue people all the best at this point in time. I wish them all the best. That's what I can say. The people who are in IDP camps, just find a way and try your best to, you know.
All right, let's get into the papers now. Let's just take a few dailies. From Daily Independence, banner headline here: Rising insecurity, Tinubu, NAS have failed Nigerians. SMBLF warns against reintroduction of Ruga. National Forest Guards says sole administrator must not conduct LG polls in Rivers. We know headlines: FCCPC seals visa centers in Abuja for obstruction of investigation. Rivers 1.846 trillion naira budget to prepare for return to civil rule. All right. Okay. You need the money to prepare for return. Okay. Benue killings. Obi picks hole in Tinubu's visit. Says it lacked empathy. All right. Surge in vandalism may throw Nigeria into darkness. TCN warns. Oyetola flags off Nigeria's IMO Council election campaign in London. 6,260 terrorists killed. 5,365 civilians rescued in 2 years. All right, and then another bold headline there. Tariff hike. MTN, Airtel may generate over 3 trillion naira from data in 2025. WHO unveils guidelines for managing sickle cell disease during pregnancy. And of course, these are the conversations that Nigerians will follow through today. And we'll be touching on them at 10 o'clock during newspaper review. That's Chukuma and I. Now, let's look at the conversation. President Tinubu jets to Kaduna, directs Akume to lead committee in Benue, Reconciliation Committee in Benue. Let's talk about this when we come back.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel, We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
We are the station that brings you stories from the people's perspective.
We let your voice be heard. On Political Lens, we bring you deeper insights into happenings within the polity.
We create equality of representative opinion and fairness in politics, economic and diverse conversations.
Here we bring you breaking news, fresh perspectives, as well as fact-based analysis.
Watch our extraordinary shows from the People's Voice, where we get to amplify the stories and concerns of everyday Nigerians to hashtag.
To Health Check, where we share practical wellness tips and bring you deep insights from medical professionals.
Maritime Frontiers, we dissect issues on port operations and more.
Every time we talk about sport, it's everything that has to do with sport, from the top to the finish. Just be with us, stay with us all of the time. We give you sporting activities just as you're bold, and that's what we do, and that's what we are called. Voice of the People TV, and you already know.
We got you all covered.
Here, you have more than a voice.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's Are you planning a special occasion? Or are you looking for a place to store your boat? Welcome to Big's Boat Club and Gardens. Our gardens provides a serene ambience for those special occasions like weddings, birthdays, family picnics, or any outdoor event. And if you're a boat lover and you've been worried about where to store your precious boat, worry no more. We introduce Big's Boat Club and Gardens. At Big's Boat Club and Gardens, we are more than just a boatyard. We are a premier destination for boat lovers. We provide a secure environment for you to store your priceless boats, and we ensure they are in top shape for whenever you need them. Our members have freedom to commercialize their boats for exclusive cruises and luxury trips to stunning beach houses. And when it's time to set sail, our on-site field station ensures you are always ready to cruise in style. Big's Boat Club and Garden is located at Wale Olateju Crescent off Admiralty Way, Lekki Phase 1. Follow us on Instagram at BigsGarden_BBC. Big's Garden, where leisure meets lifestyle.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
Yeah, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is VOP This Morning on Voice of the People Television. Now let's go to Benue State. In response to the Yoruba massacre that claimed over 200 lives, President Bola Tinubu has directed his secretary to the government, Senator George Akume, to form and coordinate a high-level committee aimed at restoring peace in Benue State. This committee, comprising former governors, traditional leaders, like the Tortiv and Ochidoma, and key community stakeholders will meet with the president in Abuja to design actionable strategies to end the violence. During a recent town hall session in Makurdi, Tinubu criticized the delayed arrest following the killings, instructing the police and security chiefs to expedite investigations and enforce justice, while reassuring citizens of the federal government's full support to bring perpetrators to book. Well, despite these efforts, former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi have questioned the timing and sincerity of the president's visit, warning that Tinubu's lack of empathy may undermine the healing process. Well, Farotimi argued it would have been better if the president didn't go, citing that the only impactful remark during the visit came from the Tortiv, who denounced the attacks as calculated genocide against Benue communities. With morning still fresh and survivors living in fear, locals are urging accountability and tangible action to ensure that past atrocities are not repeated. Whereas President Bola Tinubu gets over to Kaduna State for project commissioning amidst criticisms, the president is moving over to Kaduna State, or he's gone to Kaduna State to commission projects and all of that. Well, let's stay with Benue here. And I think there is a video where the president made comments about incidents in Benue State and how human lives should be valued more than that of cows. The producer, you might need to put it on. Let's have a voice of the president saying all that he said during that visit in the hospital.
The value of life, human life, is greater than that of a cow. And it's only when you open the door for conflict that political enemy will come in. Political enemies, they don't want you to succeed. Have you just realizing that, Governor?
All right, and that was the president speaking. Some people have said, look, that's a mix of condolence and politics, but we'll get into all of that. As we are joined in the studio here by Mr. Dele Fanimo. Now, Dele is a citizen reporter and VOP in-house analyst. We also have Mr. Lawale Kundaya, who is an educationist and public affairs commentator. And we'll be joined virtually by Professor Emmanuel Odue Estue. He's the professor with the Benue State University, Makurdi, and he's the immediate past head of the Department of Religion and Cultural Studies. Gentlemen, thanks for being part of the morning show. Good morning, Dele. Good morning, Mr. Kundaya.
It's always my pleasure. Good morning.
Okay, good morning, Prof. Good to have you on VOP this morning.
Hello?
Hello, Prof. I can hear you. Good morning, Professor
Yes,
Emmanuel.
The voice is very, very low. I am not here. Good morning.
Okay, but I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me now?
What I'm trying to say is that the voice is very, I'm not hearing you properly.
Prof, can you hear me now?
Okay, a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for joining us.
I think I'm hearing what you are saying.
Okay, very well then. Thanks for joining us on VOP this morning. I understand that you are somewhere in Benue State, right? Okay. So, and the president has visited after the killing.
I'm in Makurdi, the capital of
the
Benue
capital
State.
city. Very well then, very well. It's good to have you, sir. The president just visited Benue State and commiserated with the people. It was more like a condolence, and we all saw what happened in Benue State. Now, the president, while leaving, or after he left, he now set up a committee headed by the former governor, and that committee also includes former governors of Benue State and other people, including the Tortiv and Ochi Idoma, leaders of Benue State. Now, how much of that committee do you think is going to make an impact, given the fact that we have people that have served in government while these problems persisted? Do you think that the committee is going to solve any problem? Meanwhile, they are to move over to Abuja, to meet with the president to devise actionable strategies that will more like solve the problem. What do you think of that committee that's been set up by the president?
Well, thank you so much for that question. Let me explain to you that we have had committees to investigate killings in Benue State. Some of the committees were initiated by His Excellency governors of Benue State from 2011 to this time. Now, all of these committees made proposals. Proposals are there on the shelf somewhere, dusting up, and nothing has been done. Well, this one too, we want to believe the president that he has a good will for Benue State, and therefore he has inaugurated this committee to look into these issues. But what we are saying is not just a matter of committee. I think we should grow past the level of committee now. There are basic issues that the federal government and the state government are fully aware, and proposals have already been made to these governments. It's just a matter of them implementing the proposals that are there. For instance, there is a prohibition of open grazing law in Benue State since 2017. The government needs to enforce that law, both the federal and state government. We shouldn't be having animals roaming around in Benue State where 99% are farmers and they are sustained by these farming activities or crops.
All right,
So
Professor.
the government needs
hello,
to
Prof. Can you hear me, sir? Yes, Prof.
Yes,
Prof.
I can
Yes,
hear you.
very well. Then I like the fact that you talked about anti-grazing law. But before then, you said that there are issues. Professor, what are the issues fueling the crisis in Benue State? Can you walk us through all of that to the best of your understanding? What are the real issues?
Hello?
Prof, I can hear you,
Hello?
sir. I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, Prof, I can hear you.
But the last statement you made, I didn't hear it. So
Prof,
that's what
now my question is this.
So that
I like the fact that you talked about the issues. What are the issues fueling
your last statement, please? If you wouldn't mind, you can pardon me.
Yes, I get you. What are the issues fueling the crisis in Benue State? Can you walk us through all of that? What are the real issues in Benue State that is fueling the crisis, the killings?
Well, Prof, if you can hear us, I think where you were initially, we had better reception. So you can do us a favor of returning to where you were. I just hope that you can hear us clearly. We really love to have this conversation with you since you are on ground in Benue State. So if you can do us the favor, return to the location you were because the reception was a whole lot better. I know you're moving around because you're trying to get clear reception so you can hear us, but we can hear you. We can hear you. So if you heard the question asked by my colleague, please just go ahead.
Okay, so what was...
Hello, Prof. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, now my question is
Yes, I am hearing you.
Okay, very well then. Very well. Now, you said that there are issues. I would like for you to walk us through the issues. What are the issues fueling the crisis in Benue State? Because you also made mention of the anti-grazing law and that animals should not be roaming the streets. What are the issues in Benue State? Hello, Prof. Can you hear me, sir? Okay,
hello,
I think
Professor.
we might have to. Sorry, Moses. We might need to take time to fix all of that, your connection, before we come back to you. Let's come back to the studio here. Mr. Delefanimo, the president has set up a committee, and the committee is made up of former governors, the cultural leaders, the traditional rulers in Benue State. Now, like the professor said, this is not the first time that committees have been set up. There are reports that are gathering dust, in the shelves. Government offices, both at the national and at the state level. What is the import of another committee being set up, especially given the fact that these people have to go to Abuja to meet with the president and all of that? Do you think that it's going to solve any problem?
For me, it's just a ritual. And most times when issues like this come up, the route is to set up committees, and they tend to meet profile solution that nobody ever implements. We have had plethora of committees, reports that nobody has touched. Even the national conference, the Constituent Assembly and all that, up to now, nobody has even bothered to revisit some of those committees' reports. And I don't see this one going to being an exception to what we've always had. I think, for me, we don't need to paper over this. What we should expect from government and what we are expecting from government is to take decisive actions. There are pointers to why these people are attacking, and there are pointers to who are behind this. And if all we gather from reports and from interviews of people that are locals in that area is anything to go by, then it was clear, according to a video that we all watched, that these people took off from a village in Nasarawa to perpetrate this act, which means they were never locals. So that puts paid to any insinuation that these people were fighting over communal land. These are external aggressors. Because if they were to be part of the communities, they would have been located around one or two communities fighting against the other community. So that has negated any proposal or any idea of these are our people fighting against us. Now, it was also alleged that some soldiers in the military were also part of this gang that went to destroy those villages. Apart from that, these people were allegedly trained in Nasarawa. So, is it the committee led by SGM that has other responsibilities of government as the clearinghouse of the current government that will now abandon its duty post and begin to find solution to Benue's problem? Or is it the traditional ruler that will leave his palace to chase after these marauders?
Well, the Chief of Defense Staff did say that members of the community, if some members of the community provided accommodation to the attackers, gave them food, and gave them some, the women, but how do you react to that coming from the Chief of Defense Staff without pointing to anybody being arrested?
You see, sometimes when people we expect to have risen above certain foibles begins to exhibit this kind of traits, you would ask yourself, how did these people get to that position? How could you tell me, how can you now tell me as Chief of Defense Staff that Benue is a flashpoint? It's been a flashpoint over the years. And strange people came into that community and some other communities that were not part of that community, and you got wind of it, you didn't send your intelligence corps to investigate. The fact that they mingle with the community, they may have come for some other things, ostensibly pretending to be coming for another thing, maybe even supporting the community to do their own recce. And at that point, you are supposed to also go in there and find out if you have that foreknowledge, if you have that intel that some people are infiltrating communities that are not members of these communities, and you profile them according to their age bracket, the language they speak, and the modus of coming to that village. But none of that was done. Intelligence is not gathered in the city centers, especially in a place where they are prone to attacks by foreigners. So
All right.
the DG of Defense Staff is just telling us that there's intelligence failure.
Okay, let's go to Benin, where we have Comrade Bobby Obayowana. Comrade, good morning once again. Good morning to you. We haven't established communication yet. Good morning to you, Comrade. Well, I hope you can hear me, so we get into this conversation without delay. Okay, I can see you, Comrade. Good morning to you. Now, I have a bit of a problem hearing you, but I hope that can be fixed so we can take your contribution to the program. But my question is, it borders on the creation of a committee to look into the crisis in Rivers State, committee comprising former governors. Now, these were governors who, some of them, during their time, faced insecurity in the state. What do you think they'll be bringing to the table? What solution will they be bringing at this time that they were not able to implement during their time as helmsmen of the state? You might need to unmute your microphone so we can take your audio.
For me, what we are seeing is part of the political rhetorics that not just the good people of Nigerians are tired of, but generally the majority of Nigerians are tired of. Committees have been consistently set up in Benue State from as far back as 2011 till date. None of those reports have reflected any improvement in the security architecture of the good people of Benue State. Now, His Excellency has set up another committee again that is to be chaired by the Secretary to the Federal Government and the former governor of Benue State, George Akume. For me, this committee can only prove us wrong if it does not fall under the category of the previous political rhetorics that Nigerians are tired of. Because the problem of Benue State is no longer about consistently setting up committees that don't give us reports that reflect practical intelligence reports. There is no security organogram to effectively marshal out some of the findings from these reports. In fact, most of these reports are not even known. I could remember what the president said when he said that if the current Benue State governor gives opportunity for political enemies to come into the state, that they will trample his administration and destroy the security architecture as a result. And that is bordering on the political competence of the governor of Benue State just now. The good people of Benue State decided to give their political patrimony and mandate to a reverend father who before now was used to serving mass in a Catholic church. Now, expecting him to perform the constitutional requirements and fundamental duty of protecting the lives and property of the good people of Benue State. However, this reverend father, or should I say political reverend father now, is now beginning to show telltale signs of incompetence in terms of handling the security, architectural affairs of the good people of Benue State. We are not about committees here. Let the committees reflect the type of reality that the good people of Benue State want to be part of. And that is
the man who happens to be the governor of Benue State, being a priest, being the challenge. Comrade Bobby, you said something about him. I'm talking about High Saint Alia being a priest, and that was actually what made him to be incompetent about manning that position. Can you help us walk through the persons who have been governors of Benue State up until this particular time? We have the likes of Otom, we have Soswan, and we know that when Otom was there, was one who had the first grave massacre in that particular state. He wasn't a priest, he was just a lay person, yet that issue actually happened during that particular time he was there. Are we limited it to the qualification of someone being the governor of a state to what we're having in this country as a challenge. Let's also take a broader picture, Nigeria as a nation. We have had people who were Christians in office. We've had Muslims also in office. We've had the persons who maybe we call them Ibile also in office. And then we know things were not really working the way it's supposed to. Are we limiting people's qualification or competence nature now to what they have, or maybe their religious practice and that?
Not at all. What I'm saying is that out of moral suasion, these people felt that the conventional politicians that they were used to hit at before now had failed them. And as such, they decided to collectively say that since this man reflects the moral competence of Christendom and generally the majority's expectations of the good people of Benue State, that was why they voted him. But now, the man is appearing to be more politically handicapped in recent times. And for me, it calls for urgent concerns. It calls for urgent worries. This man, see, the duty of any governor, whether a Christian or a Muslim.
When Tor of Tivland was talking to the president, he made mention of a particular thing. He said that people have been, watering down the happenings in River State by making it not to be, the way it should be, by, misplacing the characters and all that, And then he went further to talk about that becoming a genocidal movement. He also pointed out to the finger that it was not just in Benue that this massacre is happening. In Plateau State also, it's happening. And then they have tagged this to be ethnic cleansing. It is not communal clashes. It is not, no longer farmer-header clashes. From some witnesses, we learned that we have security personnel also join the people who are doing this genocidal attack in Benue State at this point in time. What then do you expect a governor in the state, whom you and I know does not really have control of all the political apparatus in Nigeria at this point in time, to do, that the president himself, as #1 man in Nigeria, cannot do, to stop Boko Haram from killing people in Borno State, stop people from killing people in Taraba, in Katsina, in Plateau, and back to Benue, where we're having as a discussion now?
Governor Ali Akodu is to resort to changing his security tactics and restructuring his security apparatus. Security is local anywhere, any day, anytime in the world. He should also adopt technological means to improve intelligence gathering and to better bring sanity to the security architecture of Benue State. All the flash points, all the entry and exit points should be consistently manned with security operatives. And he should give a directive. He's the chief security officer of the state the last time I checked. The primary responsibility of him being the governor of Benue State is to secure the lives of the people. He should show capacity and competence.
Comrade, just one question, then I'll bring it back to the studio. Now, when you talk about the governor of Benue State being the security of the state, you and I also know that according to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Comrade Bobby Obayowan, that the president actually is the one who can, I'm not talking about, not the president now. Now, the IGP of police is the one who will give orders to the police that they have, the commissioner of police that they have in states. And also, we have the COAS being the one that will give orders also to military personnel that we have. Also, in all states, they obey the last order from their national or their headquarters, not from the governors, as the case may be. It happens all in all states. And then this actually has turned out to be the challenge, or what makes Nigerians to talk about state policing. We don't have state policing in Nigeria. What we have is federal police. And according to Robert Okun yesterday, sometime during last week or early this week, they say that creating of other police stations or other police, especially state police in Nigeria, is not constitutional. So how then do you expect the governor to issue out these orders and go to the flashpoints, go there and, how do you think he will be, do you think at this point in time that the governor will be obeyed when he come up to give those rules or those orders?
Work closely with the Inspector General of Police. I am happy that the governor is in good terms with the presidency. And I am happy that that Benue state is also an APC state. That governor, it is his duty to bring the urgency of security concerns to the front burner of the IG of police. And the governor, as the chief security officer of the state, has the executive capacity to put all security agencies in check. As far as that state is concerned, the commissioner of police, though takes order from the IGP of police, should be given more pressure by the governor that the lives of the good people of Benue State are at stake. That is how to show capacity as a governor. That is how to show competence as a leader. The onus lies on him. Everything still falls back on his table. We should not hide on. We should not hide on the fact that the security organogram of the country rests within the purview of the IGP of police in terms of the highest powers, and that the federal government is in charge of more security activities. In Edo State, where I come from, we had a former governor of Edo State that performed wonders in our security architecture. He established the local command and control center that was a historical feat in the annals of our democracy. In Edo State, our security architecture was very effective under Governor Godwin Obaseki. He worked closely with the Commissioner of Police in his time and ensured that all security agencies were put on their toes. He has the executive privilege. He has the executive immunity to call for security.
Thank you very much, Comrade Bobby Obayewana. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you very much for your contribution. We do appreciate your contribution. Now let's bring it to the studio here. Let's bring it to the studio where we have Lawale Kundaya. Now, just a few questions before we go back to Professor. We are hearing that some people in the camp are not having it easy. In fact, a few lives have been lost while in the IDP camp, not because of insurgency, not because of any attack, but because of hunger attack. There's no food. So people are complaining. What has been set aside? We hear that some 853 billion naira was set aside earlier in the year for things like this, people in IDP camps, for them to be taken care of. How do you react to the fact that regardless of this and regardless of the activities of NEMA and SEMA, we still have people starving to death, as it were?
Yes. Now, there are two reasons to that. One, there will always be crisis when you have internally displaced people. There will always be crisis because you have taken them away to a secluded area and you are feeding them there. So there will be crisis because you can't feed them the way, you can't take care of them the way they were from where they were coming from. So there will be crisis. Second, we know that in Nigeria here, corruption is dining and whining with the government. So anything you set aside, it will disappear so many places. You can see even in when it comes to correction centers, you see how much they say they are used to feed the people in correction centers. You see what they are going. Even in police college, you go to police college, go and see what the way. So things like that are bound to happen. But the way forward is for government to give a decisive marching order to the security. Now, the government, I said when the president got there, and he asked, I don't see any arrest, and nobody could answer that question. The next thing is for him to give them a timeline in which those people will be returned.
Should the president have given a marching order, seeing that in itself is the duty of security agencies to arrest?
That's
when things like this.
So he has shown their shortfall.
Should they have waited for a marching order?
What I've said is the president has shown their shortfall by asking that question. Now the next thing is for you to give them a decisive order in which, if nothing happens by that time, then they lose their job. That's the way it's done in a country that is serious. You give them a match in 1 week. I want these people to return back to their land. Because if you say you set up a committee, this thing is going on all across the country. It's not.
Do you have faith in the committee?
No.
Why?
That's why I'm talking about the machine. How can you give a committee when the people are attacked? They
Why
are
don't you
attacked.
have faith? These are people that have ruled, that have governed the state, the majority of them, and you know these are stakeholders.
You have moved into the political realm.
They might just prefer a solution.
No, you have moved into the political realm. They will play politics with it now. Or committee will sit down. They will travel. They will do this. They will be looking for money to spend. After that, they will now type the document and put it and bind it and give it to the president. The president will start looking at it before we now start implementing. Before we now look at the timeline, and eventually we not say anything. Is that what we need now? When people are internally displaced, it's a marching order. Within a week or within 2 weeks, I want these people to return back to their land safely. And the military will have the security will have no choice other than to do the orders of the president. That's what is happening now. You give them a march, you give them a timeline because you have asked a vital question.
All right.
And they have not answered it. Then the next thing is for you to give them the last order. If they don't obey this time, then they lose. You change them.
All right, then let's see if we can re-establish contact with Professor Emmanuel before we wrap up this conversation. Professor Emmanuel, if you've been listening, good morning once again. Can you hear me? Well, I'm being told that you might need to unmute your microphone. Professor? All right, unfortunately, we are unable to make contact. Professor is on ground in Makurdi, Benue State. It would have been really nice to hear he's on site to all of what's going on in Benue, but I guess we'll have to reschedule the interview with the professor at a later date. Now, let's get into another conversation now. Now, looking at the alleged terrorism case, Nnamdi Kanu is saying, I have no case to answer. We also see that Nnamdi Kanu has been linked to the NSAS protest. Oh, well, let's have this conversation when we come back. Join us again.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOPTV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOPTV, Voice of the People Television.
We are the station that brings you stories from the people's perspective.
We'll let your voice be heard. On Political Lens, we'll bring you deeper insight.
Welcome back. It's still VOP this morning. Nigeria's federal government concluded its case in the terrorism and tourism trial of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu on June 19, following testimony from its fifth and final witness, a Department of State Services operative who linked Kanu's broadcast to violence and property destruction in the southeast. With 5 witnesses having testified, the prosecution announced it had presented sufficient evidence, prompting Kanu's lead defense lawyer, Chief Kanu Agabi, to declare the intention to file a no-case submission on the grounds that the evidence has failed to establish a prima facie case demanding a formal defense. In response, Kanu boldly declared in open court, I have no case to answer, citing earlier court ruling that overturned IPOB's prescription and labeled his rendition from Kenya unconstitutional actions, he says, were ignored. Justice James Omotosho has ruled that both parties must file written legal submissions addressing the no-case claims, with proceedings adjourned to July 18 for resolution. As the spotlight turns to whether the court finds the prosecution's evidence sufficient to proceed, public attention remains fixed on the landmark case and its implications for justice and free speech in Nigeria. We have with us in the studio Mr. Dele Fanimo, a seasoned reporter and VOP TV in-house political analyst, and beside him is still Mr. Lawale Kundayo, who is an educationist, political and public affairs commentator and a farmer. And we have still with us Vain Makodi, Professor Emmanuel Odue Usue, who is the professor with the Benue State University. And from Benin Studios, we have Comrade Bobby Egosa Obayuwana, a public and political analyst, also join us for the second conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here with us.
Always my pleasure.
Now, let me start off with you, Comrade, Comrade Bobby Egosa Obayuwana. Now, this particular case about Nnamdi Kanu, who happens to be the indigenous, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, is more like taking another turn because yesterday in court, after the fifth witness from VSS presented all that he has against him, he was able to say, I don't have any case to answer. And he cited his rendition from Kenya as one, and also the fact that a court won't say that IPOB is not a prescribed organization, and also had a fine placed on federal government, which the government actually did not really, according to him, did not obey. He said that those things are unconstitutional action. I say he doesn't have any case to present at this point in time. Although the case is still in court, yes, it's still in court. It has been adjourned for proper hearing and cross-examination and all that. Now, as a Nigerian, given the fact that this case has been there for so long, it's been there for so many years, what do you think will be the outcome of this? What do you actually think will be the outcome of this? Do you think that we'll have to see justice at the end of the whole proceeding? Do you think public attention being fixed on this particular case now, even with the international recognition, is going to speak well to Nigeria having justice and a free speech environment?
Well, for me, what we are seeing in this case between Nnamdi Kanu and the federal government are mere political jabberwocky and political theatrics. This case did not start today, the last time I checked. We have had this case since the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. And this case has further dragged to this current administration. What we have been hearing have not really been politically interesting to Nigerians over time. In fact, yesterday when the fifth witness, who was tagged letter EEE, tendered his evidence in court, the stimulus response that sparked up reactions from some Nigerians sitting close to me is that we are beginning to see witnesses who now bear alphabets as names, all in the guise of being under security cover. So for me, they should stop disturbing Nigerians with all these political theatrics and political noise making. If they want to follow the rule of law, they should follow it to the latter. And this also borders on the integrity of the Nigerian justice system. They should not use any form of discretionary or unpopular controversial technicality to give selective justice to either of the party. Let the findings reflect transparency to the admiration of sanity in our justice system from the Nigerian perspective. Because what is going on now is that today they will converge in court. Tomorrow they will adjourn to on the 18th of July, which they have done. And from on the 18th of July now, Nigerians can confidently predict that there is still going to be another adjournment. All these charades, all these facades, political facades, are becoming boring and uninteresting to the interest of Nigerians. If Nnamdi Kanu is found wanting of treason or any form of threat to national security and integration, it should be done in a transparent manner.
All right,
because I've been following this case.
Okay.
We have not seen a situation where it has been alleged that Nnamdi Kanu carried guns,
all right,
or
okay,
is in possession of weapons of mass destruction, or he is carrying out activities that are physically and realistically glaring to the eyes of Nigerians across the world.
All right,
that he is becoming
thank you very much, Comrade
threat.
Bobby.
But for
thank
me,
you very much, Comrade Bobby. Okay, let's just land on your thoughts, please, so I can move to another guest.
It's more important than the interest of any individual
thank you.
Entity.
Thank you very much. That's a good place to land. All right, so let me bring you to the studio now, Mr. Fanimo. Now, the frequent outbursts of Kanu in courts, we saw a reaction from the case where he, spoke out, basically speaking out above the head of his lawyers, saying that, look, I have no case to answer. Do you think this will affect his case going forward?
Much as it may not really affect the facts and evidence before the court, but sometimes judges also weigh in on the emotion of accused persons. Especially, this is a case that carries death penalty if found guilty. And this is a man that has been traumatized for more than 5 years behind the bars. He has not been able to see his wife. He has not been able to see his children. He has not been able to have contact with the outside world other than the lawyers. And most of the people he sees every day when he wakes up and when he goes back to sleep in the night are the regular people that are security operatives. And a high-profile person like this will not be allowed to interact freely with those people that mill around him.
Could it be that government is playing on his emotions to ensure that, when his emotions get out of hand,
he almost broke.
That can be used against him.
The continued incarceration almost broke him at a point. That you recall that in the open court, when he was still being tried by the other woman,
Justice Nyako.
Justice Nyako, that he almost wanted to fight with his lawyer, pushing his lawyer. What probably will be going on in his brain is, look, you guys are toying with my lives. I mean, my life. And you are sitting here, coming here to adjourn endlessly. And I am ebbing away.
Could that be a ploy? Could that be a ploy on the part of his accusers to ensure that, look, he's pushed to the brink and then breaks and then does something that can be used to further detain him or maybe incarcerate him for
since I'm not a security operative, I may not be able to say that, but I am putting myself in his position.
I'm also putting myself. But I do understand that you did a bit of psychology. My question borders on psychology, actually.
If you are going to the realm of psychology, I can tell you that
yes,
as he is now, a lot of things are running through his brain. And when you want to break down a suspect, I've been involved in assisting police to interrogate suspects in the past. When you want to break a suspect, don't engage that suspect for a while. The brain will run riot at some point, such that if you are not careful, that person may just move from neurosis to psychosis. That's why some people, when they are incarcerated alone in solitary confinement for a while, the tendency is for them to be mentally affected.
Go depressed.
Because depression will set in. And then you begin to hallucinate or you begin to experience schizophrenia.
All right.
So what we are seeing in the court at that point, is an Nnamdi Kanu beyond the satirics, beyond everything that is going on inside the court. He was also looking beyond the court to say, what will be my fate? Am I going to continue to stay here? And there is no conscious effort to close this case as quickly as possible.
As quickly as possible. Okay, I like the fact that you mentioned his reaction to his lawyers. You know that within the past 2 months, he changed lawyers.
Yes.
I think about 3 senior advocates joined him, the team. And one of them is Kanu Agabi. And now former Attorney General of the Federation. Now Kanu Agabi says that when the federal government closed its case. Now Kanu Agabi said yesterday that the defendant is good.
No case submission.
Do you think that will make a difference the personality of the former Attorney General of the Federation? Because I think we talked a bit about it that time, and I was like, will it make any difference? And some people were of the opinion that, look, it will make a difference. Not because the Jumako hadn't done a good job, but because these people might have another angle, you know, that they used to pursue the case. At that point, we talk about the coming in with a political angle to it, even being lawyers. Is that what we see, you know, happening at this moment?
You see, in all ramifications, this is a high-profile case.
Okay.
Because if it were to be just ordinary people like you and I, there won't be any need for government to employ a son of the stature of a woman law. And if Kanu also didn't realize that he is in a precarious situation, he wouldn't have changed his lawyer and bring in Kanu and Gabi for whatever reasons that is not known to me. But the point is, he needed to get a lawyer that would match in and outside the court a stature of an Awomolo at that moment.
Okay.
Because it could end up at some point that there could be a kind of political solution to this crisis.
Okay.
Because don't forget, Kanu Agabi had been in office before.
Okay.
He knows what goes on in the Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
The right buttons to press and all of that.
Well,
I'm happy that we are at this point again, because we were very upbeat at that time when Bianca Ono was appointed.
Even before then?
Even before. And Bianca made a statement, you've been very upbeat. And if you relying on what happened or what has happened in the recent past, are you still upbeat about it being released soon?
Obviously, I'm still upbeat. And I still feel that this guy will come out. I have that conviction. I don't know where it's coming from, but I have a conviction that this guy will be released before the end of the year.
All right, then. Okay, Lawal Kundayo. Comrade Bobby, the virtual guest, said something about the witnesses bearing acronyms, the witnesses being hidden. That has been the pattern of the case from the onset. Do you think that will put some sort of cloud around the credibility of witnesses being presented by the government? The fact that these people are only known to the accused. The accused is the only person made to see them. Nigerians cannot see and attest to their credibility or the possibility that they may or may not know what they are saying.
It's baffling. From the little I know, somebody like that, you are presenting a witness. At least the witness had information, which one of the things is that there must be, the accused must be able to say something about that. But you cover the face, you can't even identify the person.
Well, I think they're put in a box where he can see from wherever he sits.
No, I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes, Nnamdi Kanu.
Can you see the person that is covered?
In most cases, he's the only one that can see.
Okay, he's the only.
Yes, but Nigerians, the rest of the court, the rest of people in the court cannot. Does that put some sense of distrust in the entire case?
It's going towards that now, because for the government.
What are your thoughts? I'm asking your thoughts.
My thought is that this thing is kind of, is derailing Nigerians. So Nigerians are being skeptical about whether there will be justice or maybe there will be manipulation. That is what is going on. That's why he says something about Nigerians are tired of all these things. Because I believe that the intelligence gathering, they don't show their face. You don't tell someone intelligence agent to come and begin to testify. They only give information to the person that will now use it and come to court and testify.
So you don't have issues with the fact that the people who are witnesses are being shielded from the...
That's what I'm saying. That they don't. If the person is an intelligence agent, he's supposed to gather the information and give it to the person that will come and appear. So that the person will now come openly appear, then it can be cross-examined, everybody will see him, and then... So that's why you see, the police will not disclose their intelligence source to protect the source. They won't disclose it. But the person will give them the information. They will now build that information around themselves as if they are the one who actually got it.
All right. So do you share a different view?
No, it's a different thing in this case.
Okay.
You see,
tell us about it.
You see, Nnamdi Kanu has been accused of heading IPOB. And IPOB has many followers. And so, the operatives of the state, these are the ones that had personal contact with the accused person. And they have been involved in the investigation of that case over a period of time. They must provide evidence and be cross-examined by the lawyer of the accused, so that if there are areas where they had lied, it will be detected along the line. So it cannot be, they cannot be represented in court. It has to be they themselves coming before the lawyers of the accused for cross-examination. For instance, if they said, Kanu, we saw you eating rice on so date, Kanu should be able to, through his lawyer, that this particular date, you said you saw me eating rice. I was in detention and only Eba was brought to me. But if it's to be a proxy coming to give evidence, that evidence will fall flat.
No.
So that's one. Two, for security reasons, for a high-profile case like this, you will be endangering the lives of these operatives when you allow them to talk in
their lives
the open
in the sense that IPOB, or members of IPOB might attack them. Is that what you're saying?
It's possible. It's possible. Have you not witnessed? Have you not witnessed armed robbery gang?
Does that add credence to the fact that IPOB might be a terrorist organization?
No, that is for the court to settle.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, have you not witnessed it? I think it was in Benin or somewhere, I can't remember the place now, or Delta, that a robbery suspect was brought to court. And members of the gang came to rescue him and killed security operatives. So it can happen. Some people may just have sympathy for Kanu and they may want to attack. So they need to also preserve the lives of these people.
But in this particular case, they have like 5 witnesses, Max. Not just an individual. And each time they get to court,
these are 5 witnesses of security agents of the state that were involved in the investigation of this case. So they need to protect them. You have just answered the question, it's very straightforward. If Kanu had not come into contact with any of these 5, he would have objected, because the prosecuting lawyer would bring them up for Kanu to identify.
But he said something.
And if Kanu has not had any interaction during investigation with these people, the lawyers of Kanu Agabi and his team would have said, this man has never had any contact with Kanu. So where is he coming from?
Kanu said something that the DCCC man wasn't even a DSS officer.
That what?
He said that the man that was brought before him to, who actually come to court to, bear witness,
to give evidence,
to testify and to bring evidence, actually is not a DSS officer.
Who said so?
Kanu himself.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
That's where
I don't have a list of DSS officers.
I have something to say.
Okay, let's have
what I want to say is this. See, like what we're talking about, just 30 seconds to derail a little. Look at that Benue case. Okay. And we're talking about the governor have been the chief security officer of the state. And people said he cannot, get arms, he cannot empower the people with arms. But security is not about arms only. It's about intelligence gathering. Somebody will gather intelligence, give it to somebody else who will make use of it physically. But the person that is gathering the intelligence is not doing anything except to give you information.
Okay,
so in this Kanu case, what goes on in the station itself, you see when they gather information, the police will come with the evidence. And if you see anybody in contact,
if I understand it clearly, you're saying that look, these the witnesses should be made public.
Yes.
So Nigerian. So
if you are intelligence agents,
if Kanu is saying that this is not a DSS official, there should be somebody within the public that can attest to the fact that yes, this individual is not a DSS official.
Yes.
As against it being his words against theirs.
Yes, because if you cover the person's face now, the person says my name is Lawa.
No,
And
we've established that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu can see the witnesses when they are docked.
What I'm saying that, what about the lawyers? Can they see the
when
same
they cross-examine? When they cross-examine? Well,
they cannot
anyway, the important thing is that it's good that we are holding this discussion. The court case has been fixed for adjourned for 18th of July. So we'll see how the case goes. We need to move on to open up their own case, and they have already said that they are going to file a new case.
That means they are throwing
out. See what happens. Then let's move on to the next conversation. As federal government arraigned Natasha Akpoti for alleged defamation, and the court has granted her 50 billion naira bail. Join us again.
Are you planning a special occasion? Or are you looking for a place to store your boat? Welcome to Big's Boat Club and Gardens. Our gardens provides a serene ambience for those special occasions like weddings, birthdays, family picnics, or any outdoor event. And if you're a boat lover and you've been worried about where to store your precious boat, worry no more. We introduce Big's Boat Club and Gardens. At Big's Boat Club and Gardens, we are more than just a boatyard. We are a premier destination for boat lovers. We provide a secure environment for you to store your priceless boats, and we ensure they are in top shape for whenever you need them. Our members have freedom to commercialize their boats for exclusive cruises and luxury trips to stunning beach houses. And when it's time to set sail, our on-site fuel station ensures you are always ready to cruise in style. Big's Boat Club and Garden is located at Wale Olateju Crescent off Admiralty Way, Lekki Phase 1. Follow us on Instagram at BigsGarden_BBC. Big's Garden, where
Senator Natasha Akpoti of Kogi Central has appeared before the Federal High Court in Abuja to face criminal defamation charges brought by the federal government, alleging she accused Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, of plotting her assassination. Now, the senator entered a plea of not guilty and was granted 50 million naira bail with a surety who must own property in Abuja. With her trial adjourned until September 23, 2025, security, of course, was tight at the court as the senator, flanked by supporters including her husband, former Education Minister Obi Ezekwesili, and activist Aisha Yesufu, attended proceedings. Now, prosecutors argued that prosecutors called for her remand, pointing to the severity of her accusation. But Justice Chizoba Orji emphasized the principle of presumed innocence and approved bail. Witnesses include Akpabio and Bello. They are slated to testify during her trial. Well, let's bring it to the studio right away. We have Daily Fanimo with us in the studio. We have Lawale Kundayo as well, and also virtually Comrade Obayowana. Comrade, I'll come to you shortly, but let's start off with Mr. Fanimo in the studio here. Yes. Now, is it? It was 50 million naira bail. Some people have said, look, she should have been granted bail on self-recognizance. What's your reaction?
Evidence of attempt to murder against the ex-governor and the Senate President So, and besides...
Criminal defamation, you say?
Criminal defamation is different from civil defamation. If it had to be civil, it would be Akpabio, Ayaya Bello, and Akpoti, Natasha against themselves. But now, it is the state versus the accused person.
And I think that's because of the jurisdiction of where that crime, all right.
Yes. In some jurisdiction, it's civil.
Okay.
And in some, that's why they had to transport Pharaoh to me, because they know it's civil here to Ekiti, where it is criminal. For me, bail is just an assurance that the accused person will be present in court whenever he is needed.
Yeah, but the judge cited that already, that she came
what I'm saying is, that 50 million naira, you are not going to deposit it in the court.
She's not a flight risk.
You understand? You are not going to deposit it in the court. In lieu of, if the person escapes, is the essence of the 50 million naira. So I'm sure they also would have expected that in a criminal case of this magnitude, that there would be argument and counter-argument over bail, granting of bail. So they would have prepared their surety, and they would also have perfected their papers. So that's why we have not heard that she couldn't meet her bail conditions, and that's why she's been put behind the bars. Because if she had not met that bail condition as at yesterday, she would be in Kuje by now. But it's so interesting that this thing is going this far. And I keep asking myself, why would politicians grandstand and harass each other over issues that can be resolved within their ranks? Because, yes, if this man has said they precipitated attempt to her life because of the withdrawal of security, then for me, she was only suspended. She was not totally removed from the Senate. Of course, after the expiration of the suspension. And I guess it's like by September 23rd, when she will be appearing, it would have been over 6 months. So let's wait. It also occurred to me now that September 23 would be,
and that's close by.
Some days to the end of the suspension.
Okay.
So maybe they gave that long adjournment for people to come in and resolve this thing without coming back to court, so that they can report back to court that there is amicable settlement by September 23rd. That's what I feel now.
Amicable resolution. Interesting. At this point, Comrade Obayiwana, do you expect an amicable resolution at this point? That's one of the questions I have for you. And also, civil society organizations like SERAP have said that, look, this case is overblown, and this defamation suit might stifle or will stifle free speech. Do you share the same thoughts?
For me, first of all, these all parties involved, they are all politicians, and there is also a possibility of the case being amicably resolved before September 23rd. However, I want to go in line with what Serap has said, that this issue has been overblown out of proportion. Senator Natasha Akpoti, the last time I checked, was democratically elected by the good people of Kogi Central to represent that constituency. And since the Senate has just 4 women in the House, she also represents the voices of women, not just from our constituency, but by extension from Nigeria at large. And the recent political feud with the Senate president is not the way to go for the Nigerian Senate at this point in time. I think, for me, this issue is overblown out of proportion, that both parties should come to a truce and amnesty situation to water down their political sentiments, bring down their ego, and focus more on nation building. This one is no longer a matter of who is right or wrong again. Nigerians don't want to know who is right or wrong. Nigerians want to see development and positive strides from the legislative arm of government, from the executive arm of government, and from the judiciary. And these three arms of government in recent times are becoming more disappointing to majority of Nigerians if you sample opinions out there in the streets.
Now, Comrade Bobby, when you say that Nigerians are not after who is wrong or right at this point in time,
yes,
you are looking at sexual harassment, which a whole lot of persons actually have been subjected to. And you know within yourself that women actually most times don't really come up to talk because of what the society will throw to them. And then we have the senator, a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, coming up to say that a particular individual in this nation have attempted sexual harassment in one way or the other, allegedly, because the court is now in court, you know. And then saying is, we don't need to know who is wrong or right at this point in time. And you also know that women are still fighting for a way for them to be represented also within the political space. And yet, they are not even getting such recognition to start with. And we have someone who managed to be there, though a first-timer, and she's facing this backlash and saying is not a, you know, help us around this. Okay, when do you think that Nigerians actually at this point in time will want to get who is wrong or who is right at this point in time?
Beautiful. What Nigerians want to know is that sanity and culpability should be fixed in our justice system, our executive affairs, and our judicial affairs. Yes, I agree that it has been alleged that there has been issues of sexual harassment between Senator Godswill Akpabio and Senator Natasha Akpoti. But what has come after those issues in recent times have been more worrisome than these personality clashes between these two senators. And before now, I have often said in this program that Senator Natasha Akpoti is not just a senator from Kogi State, that she represents the voices of majority of women who have little political appearance and slots in the Nigerian Senate. That is why these parties, from now to September 23rd, have either an opportunity to put aside their political differences and look at the larger picture of what it portends for this nation. Senator Akpabio, as the Senate President, should also know that it is his duty to fix the Nigerian Senate and ensure that there is sanity in our legislative arm of government.
All right then. All right, thank you very much.
I'm coming. Senator Natasha Akpoti.
Comrade Bobby, we are out of time. We are out of time. Thank you very much for a very incisive take. We need to come back to the studio here and get the thoughts of Mr. Lawale Kundayo. Now, Mr. Lawale Kundayo, in everything that you see that has happened, does it look to you like Natasha is being persecuted for stepping on big toes?
But you know why I like this woman? Because she's exposing a system. It's exposing the hidden things in the system that are not right. She's telling us that this is the way the Senate is run and it's not proper. From now, we are talking about this one. We have a sexual this case that's not even properly allegation that's not properly treated. Her suspension is unconstitutional. She was moved from her seat without her notice. And look at the way, that means what she's fighting is what so many others have been going through and they've kept quiet. We know what they did to Nenji when he was talking and they shot his phone, suspended immediately. The question is, was it wrong or right? They don't care. They just do what they want to do as if they operate a constitution that is different from the Nigerian constitution. And that is what this woman is telling every Nigerian, that look at what is happening. Look at what is happening. They said you can't suspend more than 2 weeks. You suspended her for 6 months. And it looks like it's normal. After all, we don't care. Who will put them? Wait, is there no just somebody is saying amicably? There must be justice and mercy. Let us have the justice first before you plead. Let us know whether you are wrong or right. And when we know you are wrong, then you now plead for mercy. And the person says, okay, I forgive you. But first, you must own up. The question is, are they owning up to all this injustice that they are doing to this woman?
Now, what does that tell you about the kind of legislature that we have? Quick one.
That's what I'm saying. That it's like they operate their law is totally different from Nigerian law. The Nigerian law doesn't capture them. They can do what the law do. They can do what they don't answer to anybody. Okay, that's what they are telling us.
Essentially, your take is that that the law should run its full course. You don't believe in all this. Okay, they are going to settle before her tenure expires, before September 23.
This is not the way to settle. You don't intimidate by settle. You want to settle. Dele mentioned a very, very crucial something here, which I'm very, very impressed with. I didn't even look at it at that angle. She said about that life is being threatened. By withdrawing her security details, you have exposed her now. If you suspend her, that doesn't mean you are going to withdraw. That means the only thing about suspension is that she cannot come into the house for a certain time. That doesn't mean you take her salary, you take her security details, you expose her to being threatened.
You open her to harm's way.
Yes, harm's way. Right. That is what has happened. So if she says they do this because they took that away, that means they expose her, and that can happen to her.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawale Kundaya. Now, this would be a very good place to end this conversation. It's very, very inciting and insightful as well. Well, we have join us from our Lagos studio here, Mr. Dele Fanimo, a citizen reporter and VOP in-house analyst. We also had Mr. Lawale Kundaya, who just gave us his thoughts now on the Natasha case. He's an educationist as well as a political affairs analyst. And from our Benin station, we were joined by Comrade Bobby Ehosa Obayiwana. He's a political affairs analyst. And unfortunately, we had also, fortunately and unfortunately, we had Professor Emmanuel Odwe Eswe on, but we didn't have enough clarity in terms of connection to have his take on what is going on in Benue State. I just hope that we might have to do this with him some other time. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your presence on VOP this morning. We appreciate you. Now, on behalf of the backroom staff and my colleagues here, Moses Humphrey and Fina Okechukwu, I am Chukuma Okoro. Join us again at 10 o'clock because Moses and I will have to come back here for the super review. Bye for now and do have a very wonderful weekend.